Welcome back. Let's practice solving discount problems. Alright, so here's our first example. At a particular store, a refurbished laptop regularly sells for $470. During a sale, the store reduces this price by a discount rate of 40%. What is the sale price of the laptop? Okay, so for a discount problem like this, where you're dealing with a product that has a particular price and it's being discounted by a percentage to get a new sale price, you want to use the following formula. The formula says that the sale price of a product, S, is equal to the regular price of the product, R, minus the discount rate, small r, multiplied by the regular price, R. If you want to know where this formula comes from, be sure to check out the lesson video for this topic. But in this video, we're just going to focus on using this equation to solve discount problems like this one. And so what we want to do here is identify what we've been given, right? What values do we know in this equation? And then we should be able to solve for the unknown value that we are not given. All right, so looking at this problem, what do we know? Well, we are told that this laptop regularly sells for $470. That would be the regular price of the product, or in this case, the laptop. So what we've been given is that the regular price R is equal to 470. Okay, so that is the regular price. But then if we continue reading the problem again, it says that during a sale, the store reduces that price by a discount rate of 40%. So that will be the discount rate small r for this equation. We've been given the regular price of the laptop, and we've been given the discount rate, which is 40%. Okay, but now when we actually use that value in this equation, or when we set this equation up, we do want to work with the decimal form of this percentage. And so to get that, just move the decimal place for the percentage 2 places to the left. So doing that, moving over 2 places to the left, we get that r is equal to 0.40, or really just 0.4. Okay, that's the discount rate in this problem. And so that's everything that we've been given. But what we want to find is the sale price, right? We want to know what is the sale price of the laptop, and that would be represented by S in this equation. So let's set it up. Let's set up this equation using the values that we've been given, and then we should be able to solve for the sale price S. Or really, in this case, there's really no solving that we have to do because S is already isolated here, right? The sale price is equal to the regular price minus the discount rate times the regular price. So really all we'll have to do here is a little bit of math. Okay, but setting this up, we'll have that the sale price is equal to the regular price, which is $470. So we have $470, and then we subtract the discount rate, which is 0.4. So I'll write 0.4, and then we multiply that by the regular price, which again is $470. So we're multiplying by 470. And just as I said, all we have to do here to find the sale price is do the math that we have right here. We want to multiply 0.4 by 470 and then subtract it from 470. Okay, and so you could do this calculation in a calculator, but since it's relatively simple, I'll do it by hand here. First thing I'll do is rewrite this decimal as a fraction. I just find fractions to be easier to work with for calculations like this. So we'll have S is equal to 470 minus 0.4 as a fraction. That's 4/10. So you could write that as 4 divided by 10. And then multiply that by 470. And then 470 is divisible by 10. It would just be 47. So we get S is equal to 470 minus 4 times 47, right? I just divided 470 by 10 to get 47. So you're left with 4 times 47. And then 4 times 47, that's 188. So what we get here is that the sale price is equal to 470 minus 188, which is equal to 282. Okay, but don't forget that that is a price, so you do want to include a dollar sign. That is an amount of money, so $282 is the final answer to this example. That is the sale price of the refurbished laptop that regularly sells for $470, but is discounted by 40%. Let's take a look at another example. Next up, we have a microphone is regularly sold online at a price of $170. During a Cyber Monday sale, the microphone is sold for $153. Find the discount rate. Okay, so once again, we're going to solve this problem using the equation that S, the sale price, is equal to the regular price, big R, minus the discount rate, small r, times the regular price, big R. Okay, so we want to identify the different values of this equation that we are given in this problem. And so going through the problem here, we are given that the microphone is regularly sold online at a price of $170. All right, so regularly sold tells us that that is the regular price of that microphone. So $170 would be our value for the regular price. All right, so far, here's what we are given. We know that the regular price is $170. And then continuing in the problem, it says during a Cyber Monday sale, the microphone is sold for $153. So that would be the sale price, because that is the price during the sale, after the regular price has been discounted. All right, so the other value we've been given here is that S is equal to 153. That is the sale price. And so what we need to find here is the discount rate, right? What is the actual percent of the discount from the regular price to the sale price? And so that's what this equation will help us find, because we know everything in this equation except for the discount rate R, right? We know the sale price, we know the regular price, so we can substitute those values into this equation or plug them in, and then we'll be able to use our equation solving skills learned earlier in algebra to solve for the value of that discount rate. So let's set it up. We'll replace S with 153. So we have 153 is equal to the regular price, which is 170. So we have 170 minus the discount rate, which we don't know. So we just have R multiplied by the regular price, 170. So we're multiplying R by that value of 170. Okay, and so now we have an equation with one unknown variable that we can solve for. And so what we need to do is isolate this variable term, which we can do by first removing this constant term from this side of the equation. So let's subtract 170 from both sides of the equation. So we'll have minus 170 on both sides. 170 minus itself is 0, so those cancel out. And then 153 minus 170 is negative 17, and that will be equal to negative R times 170. Or really, it would be R with a coefficient of negative 170. All right, you could rewrite that as negative 170 times R. Okay, and so now we can solve for the discount rate R by removing that coefficient. We want to divide both sides of the equation by that value of negative 170, and then we will have solved for R. So let's do that here. We'll divide both sides by negative 170, and so these negative 170s will cancel out. Anything divided by itself is just 1. So we have 1 times R, which is just R, and R will be equal to negative 17 divided by negative 170. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite that like this. R is equal to negative 17 divided by negative 170. I just flipped the two sides of the equation. That's totally fine. These are equivalent statements. I just like to have the variable we're solving for on the left side of the equation, so that's why I switched the two sides of the equation. But anyway, simplifying this, notice that both negative 17 and negative 170 are divisible by negative 17, right? Negative 17 divided by itself is 1, and negative 170 divided by negative 17 would be 10, because 10 times negative 17 would be negative 170. So this simplifies to 1/10, but remember that we're solving for R, the discount rate, and we usually like to express the discount rate as a percent. All right, so while 1/10 is technically correct, we want to rewrite that as a percent, and so 1/10 as a decimal is 0.1, which corresponds to 10%, right? Just move the decimal place 2 places to the right, and you get the equivalent percentage for that decimal. Okay, so 10% is the discount rate for the microphone that is regularly sold for a price of $170, but has a sale price of $153. The price decreases by 10%. All right, in other words, if you take 10% of the regular price, subtract it from the regular price, you will get the sale price. That is exactly what this equation right here is saying. The sale price is equal to the regular price minus 10% of that regular price. Hey, real quick, before we take a look at the next example, if you find my videos here at JK Math to be helpful, then I'd like to invite you to join my membership site JK Math Plus, where you get access to many perks, including bonus content and my exclusive community. The bonus content includes dark mode versions of my videos, extra example problems, and more, while the community is a private space online where you can post questions, have discussions, and study together with me and other members. To learn how to join and see a full list of everything you'd get access to as a member, you can head over to jkmathematics.com/plus. I'll have a link for that in the description of this video. Okay, so if you're interested in becoming a member, feel free to check that out, as it's a great way to support me in the tutorials I make, as well as a great way for you to learn math better. But for now, let's take a look at the next example. For our next example, we have the sale price of a treadmill is $568, which is 20% off the regular price. Find the regular price. Okay, so once again, we are going to make use of the same equation. We know that the sale price of a product is equal to the regular price minus the discount rate multiplied by the regular price. Okay, and so let's identify what we know from this problem. We're told that the sale price of the treadmill is $568. So that's pretty clear. The sale price S is $568. So let's write that down. We are given that S is equal to $568. And then we're told that that sale price is 20% off the regular price, which would be the discount rate. So R is equal to 20%, but when we actually set up the equation, we will want to write that as a decimal. And so 20% as a decimal, if you move the decimal place 2 places to the left, you get a decimal of 0.2, okay? Or you could write it as 0.20. It doesn't matter. That's the same rate either way. But now, that's everything we know, but what we want to do is use that information to find the regular price of this treadmill. So let's set up this equation and solve for the regular price. We'll have that the sale price of $568 is equal to that regular price that we don't know minus the discount rate of 0.20 multiplied by the regular price. And so what we have here is an equation with one unknown variable that we can solve for. We can use our skills for solving equations that we learned earlier in algebra to help us solve for this regular price. And the first thing I notice here is that we do have two like terms, right? We have this term involving the variable r and this term involving the variable r. Those two terms have the same variable part, so they are like terms that can be combined by adding their coefficients. In particular, the coefficient of this r is 1, and the coefficient of this r is negative 0.2. So adding the coefficients, we'd have 1 plus negative 0.2, or really 1 minus 0.2, which will give you 0.8. So we have 568 is equal to 0.8 or 0.80 multiplied by the regular price r. All right, that's what we get when we combine these two like terms. And now by doing that, we no longer have two r's to worry about, we just have one. So now we can isolate it and solve for that regular price. All that's left to do is get rid of that coefficient of r, which is 0.80. So what we can do is divide both sides of the equation by that value, and we will have solved for the regular price. So let's do that here. Let's divide both sides by 0.80. 0.80 divided by itself will cancel out. It will just be equal to 1. So 1 times r is r, and then r will be equal to 568 divided by 0.80. So rewriting this, r would be equal to 568 divided by 0.80. All right, now this division, while it is possible to do by hand, would be a little bit complicated, and ultimately that's not the focus of this video. The focus is on solving these discount problems. So if you want to do this by hand, you can, but most likely you'll want to use a calculator here. So put this into a calculator, and you'll find that 568 divided by 0.80 is equal to 710. That would be the value of the regular price of this treadmill. All right, but since that is a price, don't forget to include a dollar sign. So $710 is the value of the regular price for the treadmill, whose sale price is $568 when the discount is 20%. All right, so in other words, if you take 20% of 710 and subtract it from the regular price, you will get the sale price of this treadmill, which is $568. Okay, let's take a look at one more example for this video. All right, so here's our last example. We have a pair of ice skates that regularly sell for $99.99 is on sale for $79.99. Find the discount rate, rounding to the nearest percent. Okay, so once again, let's write down the equation that we're going to use to solve this problem. remember that the sale price is equal to the regular price minus the discount rate multiplied by the regular price. And so let's work on identifying the values of this equation that we know. Let's figure out what we've been given here. The first thing we know is that the pair of ice skates regularly sell for $99.99. And so you can't just round that up to 100. You do want to use that value of 99.99. That will be the regular price in this scenario. So 99.99 is the regular price, but then we're told that the ice skates are on sale for $79.99. That will be the sale price, or the value of S. All right, so we're also given that S is equal to 79.99. Again, do not round that up to 80. You want to use these values as they are given. The only thing we're going to round is our final answer because we want to find the discount rate rounding to the nearest percent. So we only round at the end. Okay, but now using these given values, let's set up this equation. The only thing we don't know is small r, the discount rate. So if we rewrite this equation using the values of the sale price and regular price that we've been given, then we can solve for the discount rate. So what we'll have here is the sale price of $79.99. We'll write that down here. That will be equal to the regular price of $99.99. So we have 99.99 minus the discount rate R that we do not know multiplied by the regular price 99.99. And so what we need to do here is solve for R, the unknown variable of this equation. So the first thing we need to do is isolate that variable term. And so we can do that by subtracting 99.99, this constant, from both sides of the equation. So let's do that. We'll subtract 99.99 from both sides. 79.99 minus 99.99 is negative 20. So we get negative 20 is equal to 0. 99.99 minus itself is 0, minus r times 99.99, which I'll rewrite like this. It would be negative 99.99 multiplied by r, right? The coefficient of r would be negative 99.99. You could rewrite that term like this. Now, what we need to do is isolate r, or solve for it by removing that coefficient. We need to divide both sides of the equation by negative 99.99. So let's do that here. We'll divide both sides by negative 99.99. So these two will cancel out, and you'll just have that the discount rate R is equal to negative 20 divided by negative 99.99. All right, so I'm going to write that over here. R is equal to negative 20 divided by negative 99.99. All right, so I'm just continuing that work over here. And then you don't want to do this division by hand. You want to put this into a calculator. And if you do that, you will get the following decimal value of 0.20002 and some more decimals. But I'm going to stop there because what we want to do here is round to the nearest percent. So we don't need a ton of decimals here. Really, all this means is we're going to round to the nearest whole number for our percent. So first of all, let's rewrite this decimal as a percent. We just need to move the decimal place 2 places to the right. So as a percent, we get 20.002%, right? Move that decimal place 2 places to the right, and you get 20.002. But rounding to the nearest percent, that would just be 20%. Okay, the nearest whole number would be 20 based on that first decimal place. All right, since it's 0, we'll just round to 20%. So R is equal to 20%. That is the discount rate for this scenario. A pair of ice skates that has a regular price of $99.99 that goes on sale for $79.99 has been discounted by 20%, at least when rounding to the nearest percent. Okay, so if you take 20% of 99.99 and then subtract it out, you should get the sale price of $79.99. Okay, and so with that, that is it for this example. And this was also the last example for this video. But if you do want to get some more practice solving discount problems, I do have another available on my membership site. So if that's something that interests you, feel free to look into becoming a member. You can find all the details on my website at jkmathematics.com/plus. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. But if you don't have any questions, this is all I had for now. So I will see you next time.